Hello, and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Devarim, Shabbos Chazon, the last parsha before Tisha B'av, dedicated to Liluy Nishmas of Mori, Naftali ben Yitzchak Isaacs. Today's Devar Torah is adapted primarily from Musar HaTorah, the Majesty of Man, adapted from the talks of Rabbi Alter Henoch Leibowitz, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas, Rabbi Yisrael Meir HaKohen, also known as Yeshivas Chafetz Chaim. So why did we have the tragedy of 10/7, October 7th, and 11/9, Tisha B'av? The topic is based on the complexity of human feelings. The Yerushalmi and Yoma says that Kol Dor She'eino Nivne B'Yamav, any generation where the Bais Hamikdash is not rebuilt, Malan Alav Kilu Hachrivo, they consider it as if they caused the destruction. On 9th of Av, almost 2,000 years ago, we had the Churban Bais Sheni, as well as the Churban Bais Rishon, but more recently the Bais Sheni. And the Jews at that time were involved with doing mitzvos and involved with doing chesed. Yet they were destroyed. Why? Because of sinas chinam. We learn from this that the sinas chinam is considered as great or as bad as the three cardinal sins that caused the destruction of the first Bais Hamikdash, Gilai Rayos, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah, murder, idolatry, and immorality. The Maharsha explains that we can see this from the story that is well known of Kamtza and Kamtza, where they were enemies, and Bar Kamtza was willing to go back, not to be insulted, but he was willing to pay for the entire expensive affair that Kamtza did. But still, Kamtza would not let Bar Kamtza stay in the parties. The question is, this is a generation that it says that the people were involved with chesed and involved with Torah, not they pretended to or anything like that, but they really were involved with it. So how could it be that they could have such a baseless hatred to go so far to insult someone so much? So Rabbi Leibowitz answers is that explains the incredible complexity of the human being, that at the same time that one person can go out for a friend and extend themselves to do a chesed, it can also go to extremes to have sinas chinam and be negative against someone else, have unwarranted hatred in their heart, which is why this is such a sin that could cause the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash, because it doesn't protect us, it doesn't give us, it takes away our zechus, our protection from it. The Chafetz from the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash. The Chafetz Chaim in Avos Chesed, chapter 2, exhorts us to realize that we are still afflicted by the same serious sin as our forefathers. The hatred that we have in our hearts is continuing to prolong the exile, the fact that the Bais Hamikdash is not being rebuilt. And dare I say that at least one of the reasons, presumably, why we have such a tragedy last Simchas Torah on October 7th, was because of the division within Klal Yisrael. That, to me, seems very evident as something that needed to be fixed. There was sinas chinam there, and that's also what destroyed the Bais Hamikdash. And we go as far as saying that even not talking to someone out of hatred is considered a terrible sin. A person might say, "I didn't hurt him. I didn't say a bad word to him. I said nothing to him at all." That is sinas chinam anyhow. Avoiding someone because of any resentment or ill will, even without displaying or feeling strong hatred, is sinas chinam and directly causes our continued exile. I read Daniel Glatstein from The Darkness to the Dawn, quotes the Rabbeinu Yonah, who says that when you look at the structure of the Megillas Eicha, that the first, second, and fourth Parakim, which are references for the first destruction, have long pasukim, and the third parak has short pasukim, and it's reference to the Bais Sheni. And he says that so if the sin of the Bais Sheni was only because they had sinas chinam, which was no actual action there, and yet it was as bad as the three cardinal sins. And that's why there's three different parakim for each one of those sins, Gilai Rayos, Shvichas Damim. So how does it become worse, says Rabbeinu Yonah, that Sinas chinam is worse when you just repetitive, a bunch of short little things, but they compound, they become stronger and stronger. Kind of like a little thread. At first, you can easily tear it apart, but when you wrap it around and around and around, it becomes like a strong rope, and it's not easy to break. That's the power of even sinas chinam, by doing repetitively these unfavorable acts. So may we eliminate any negative feeling towards others and increase our love and friendship to them, so that this generation, our generation, really wants to rebuild the Bais Hamikdash. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.